Good morning. I'd like to welcome you all to the Town of Smyrna State of the Town. We are so excited to see each one of you. And before we move into our presentation, I'd like to introduce a few of our special guests. We have Lou Caputo from TriStar Stonecrest Medical Center, who's the CEO. We're glad to have you this morning. We have Paul Latour, who is the president of the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce. We have Coon Victory, who is my dad, but that's not why he's here today. He's here today representing the storytelling they did for History of Smyrna, so we're glad to have you. Commissioner Rhonda Allen, saw you come in back there, glad to have you. Commissioner Wayne Blair, glad to see you. And we have our Rutherford County Airport Authority, Smyrna Rutherford County Airport Authority Director, John Black, and there's John right there, and Assistant Salil Rai. So thank you all for being here. We also have State Representative Mike Sparks. Good morning. And then we have our town council, who is groups of people that I get to work with honestly on a daily basis. We're always getting into something. And we have our Vice Mayor, Mark Adkins. We have Councilwoman Raquel Peebles, Steve Sullivan, H.G. Cole. We have one member that's at the beach. Jerry is at the beach, so we hope he's having a good time. And then Tim Morrell will be here a little bit later. Also want to introduce Brian Hercules, our Old Town Manager.
That's right, Old Town Manager.
Old Town Manager. I have to tell the story that we used to call him the New Town Manager, and after a while he was like, wait a second, why do you keep calling me the New Town Manager? I've been here a year, so now he's the Old Town Manager. So when you want to introduce him, you can also introduce him as the Old Town Manager. We have Town Attorney Jeff Peach. I know I saw Jeff. There's Jeff. Good morning, Jeff. And Assistant Town Managers Todd Spearman and Rex Gaither. And, that's kind of been new roles for us, and they have done a wonderful job, and I think really been beneficial to Brian as well as to us as council, and hopefully to the directors as well. So I want to turn it over to Brian at this time, but I want to thank each one of you for being here and also for being a part of our community. The one thing we know is we can't do this alone. It takes all of us, and each one of you are a part of making the lives of the citizens in our community a great place to live, work, and play. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to extend my welcome as well. As your town manager, it's always fun to get to speak not only to our community, but to our directors and our council and our special friends across the town of Smyrna. You'll see on the screen behind me org chart, and I wanted to put that up there for a reason. If you look at the org chart, it's not so much where the elected officials land and where the town manager lands and the different directors. It's very important that you understand at the very top it says the citizens of the town of Smyrna. And no matter what role we fill across this system, across the town of Smyrna, we all work for you as citizens. I would like to recognize the directors. If the directors would please stand up for just a quick second. So you can see in the crowd today, quite a few of our directors are here. We do have a few on vacation, but we appreciate them being here. You can be seated. What I want to say about the directors, while we recognize them here in the room, what you don't see is close to 500 employees when you look at our full employment of full-time complements, part-time complements, and our seasonal. And let me tell you something. My job is easy, because those 500 people out there every day making it happen. And we take for granted sometimes what happens with our employees. It's easy to see our police officers or our fire trucks going down the road, or you see one of our trucks from SOAC or something like that with a logo on the side of it. But understand those vehicles are filled with our employees. And what you don't see is at midnight when they're out on a water line break or a sewer line break and they're working all hours of the night to make sure that you don't know there's an issue. You don't know about the employees at the water plant and the wastewater plant that work 365 days a year to make sure that things happen in your house that you want when you go to the restroom and push that lever and it flushes, or you turn on that spigot to get a drink of water, or you turn on that hose pipe to water your garden. There are people making that happen, and those are truly our heroes. Each of these department heads represent them, and I just want to say thank you publicly to every employee, because we cannot do what we do in the quality of life manner for the town of Smyrna without those folks. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank them and understand that we all work for you, the citizens of Smyrna. A couple of updates I wanted to share with you that are big on our list. We'll get into more detail, but I just wanted to do a quick overview. Many of you have heard of our Freedom Playground. It's a new playground that was put at Lee Victory Park that we're very proud of. It was a joint venture with the Rotary Club of Smyrna, the Christy Houston Foundation in the town of Smyrna, and many other sponsors. And for the first time, we have got a playground that every child can play together no matter what their abilities are. And it's a real special spot. And I know I'm a little old to get out there and play on a swing or something, but I tell you, if you haven't done it, go up to that park and sit down on one of those benches and watch those children. You watch those children interact. It's a very special place, and we're glad that we have that. A couple of road projects I know everybody's interested in: Sam Ridley Widening and then Jefferson Pike. I'll take them each individually. Sam Ridley Widening, we're actually beginning to come close to the end of that project. We should be completed by the end of this year. We'll talk a little bit more about what it'll look like when it's completed in a few minutes. Jefferson Pike, that's a project that we all know is long overdue. If you've not been out Jefferson Pike lately, I challenge you to do so. It's already a 3-year project. In the first 6 months have transitioned that whole corridor for us, and it's just going to get better. But it is a 3-year project, and it's going to be one of those that we're going to feel some pains because it's a major artery into our community. And construction, unfortunately, sometimes we have to have lane closures and we have to have different things happen. There may be even a little rumbling of some blasting out there, but at the end of the 3-year period, we're going to have something that we're all going to be very proud of, and it's also going to become a major thoroughfare into our community.
Well, and we also want to thank our state representatives for those projects, for
absolutely.
helping get those projects off the ground and continue to move forward. We appreciate all y'all did to help us with
Mike's sitting
those.
here in the audience, and I tell you, he was able to put Beecher and I in a room with the Speaker of the House a couple of years ago that I think was a pivotal point for us to get that project. Construction continues to be strong. We'll go into some of the numbers again in a few minutes, but I just want you to know that we understand construction is one of those things that sometimes brings burden, but it's been good. We've got a lot of projects going on, a lot of housing. One of the things I'd like to highlight that we're very interested in, and I will say the council has done a great job and the Planning Commission has done a great job to really emphasize the need for senior housing. And right now we have 4 projects in different stages across the system. Hummingbird Hill, which is off of Nora Peoples Drive over in that area, 96 units that are available now for senior living. The Stewart's Creek Cottages has just broke ground and got construction on the roads. That's going to be 76 units. Stewart's Glen, 20 homes and 32 townhomes. And then a project that actually came through last night at the Planning Committee was Hemsley Place, and that's going to be another senior, all these are senior living qualified homes. So very excited about that. Over this last year, you know, we've had still COVID issues to deal with. And it's made it an interesting year for us because it's kind of turned into a transition year for us as we have done special projects across the town. So this year we had our Christmas tree, or this past year we had our Christmas tree lighting as a virtual event. It actually worked pretty well, and we want to thank all the people that were involved in that, and especially our Parks Department for making that happen. We had a virtual Volunteer of the Year banquet. That was a little different to have this room not capacity with people, embracing and cheering on all the different programs that happen with the ball clubs and the football and soccer and those type of things. But again, we were able to make it happen. We did it as a virtual banquet. And then about mid-year, I'm looking at our budget year, not the calendar year. John Black and Salil brought a fantastic project to fruition, and we did have to implement some COVID type protocols out there, but we had a great air show with the Thunderbirds in town, and it was really fun to be out there and see people again in the sunlight, sharing and walking around and talking and having a good time and enjoying the refreshments and the great air show. Then 4th of July, man, 4th of July, what a fun event. But this year we did it a little different. We did have it open for the public who felt like they were comfortable coming out and witnessing the fireworks and then partaking of the food trucks, those kind of things. But we also, for the first time, we published that on Channel 3 in partnership with Stewart's Creek Audiovisual Department, and that was a great event. And then in the last few days, or the last few months, we were able to get Simply Smyrna and the Depot Days back to some sense of normalcy, and a lot of people came out for the car show and the event on Saturday, so we appreciate the community coming out and enjoying those things, and we'll continue to work towards providing those products back to the town, but we'll always be cognizant of the protocols and be watching our need to cover the COVID vaccine, or the COVID issue. So that's just a little bit of a highlight. So
yeah. And talking about partnerships, that's something that we try really hard here in the town of Smyrna, is to continue to create those partnerships. And I've been so excited about Stewart's Creek TV and being able to bring those students from Stewart's Creek in to give them on-the-job training, whether it's through our Christmas parade, which they also did. Yes. They produced it live, and they also did the commentary for it as well. And then you add the 4th of July celebration. So it's been great to see that partnership continue to blossom, and I know it will continue to do that. So with all of the great things that are happening, just like with each one of you in your role, whatever that role is, there's also been some challenges or opportunities, as I sometimes like to call them. And over the past year and a half, we have definitely had some opportunities, I will say. With COVID, I think each one of us, we never dreamed we'd be able to do some of the things that we were able to do, virtual ceremonies, things like that, but we figured out ways to make it work. Well, due to the pandemic, our Smyrna Fire Department was eligible for grant funding through the Stafford Act, and the department applied for and received the Bureau of Justice Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding program in the amount of almost $43,000, and these funds were used to purchase COVID-19 related protective equipment and supplies. And let me just tell you, Chief would always keep us supplied with those supplies. I think the department all knows that. So Chief, thanks for that. FEMA public assistance funding is ongoing and continues to reimburse the town for purchases of protective gear and other items that are related to protecting our employees and residents from the infection. I want you all to know that was a top priority for us and Lou and other partners in the town of Smyrna, was making sure our employees were safe, but also helping to make sure our citizens were safe as well. I can't tell you how quickly information was coming in and information was changing, not on a daily basis, almost on an hourly basis. And so it really took team effort across the entire county of working together. And I just want to thank everybody out there who jumped in and helped make this, I wouldn't say an easy process, but hopefully made the citizens feel safe. Our fire department also worked with TEMA to obtain personal protective equipment for all our town employees. Now, this is one that I think you will find interesting, is our construction and infrastructure in handling the growth. In our 2020 census, and oh look, there's John Black. You're famous, John. These are some of the numbers that we found, and I'm going to talk a little bit about from 2010 to 2020. With our census, Rutherford County grew 30.4%, Murfreesboro grew 40.47%, Laverne grew 18.81%, and Smyrna 32.76%. I would say those are opportunities when we have that many people moving to our community. We have a great community and people want to be here. I will tell you, we thought we would pass Hamilton County to be the 4th largest county in the state. We did not do that. We're still the 5th largest, but they only beat us out by just a little bit. 24,721 people is all that that they're in front of us. So I would definitely say by the next census, we'll probably overtake them, wouldn't you say?
I would think so.
Yes. The other thing that we've had to face this year is natural disasters, like tornadoes, floods, ice storms, in addition to a pandemic. And a lot of people don't realize, but I can't even remember how long was the ice storm. It seemed like we were out forever.
It was about a week.
About a week. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people think we have this massive group that is in our streets department that take care of all of the streets. We had 13 people that were out 24 hours a day trying to make sure the streets were passable for those of us that had to go to work or those that had an emergency or in the case of my mother and Britt, had to get to the grocery store because they have to go on a daily basis. So they were trying to cover 24.6 miles of streets so that we could make sure we could get places. Snow took place in February, tornado, Chief, remember, took place in March, and flood seems like about every month now we're getting stormwater and flooding because it just seems like it's an overabundance of rain. So I want to thank these individuals that are making sure that we as a community are taken care of.
Okay. I want to touch on some of our public safety accomplishments. Start with the fire department. The department's first full-time fire investigator, Captain Scott Byers, came over from the police department. You may think that's not a big deal, but we made 4 arrests for fire-related offenses, had 6 open cases right now in the court system related to fire offenses, and they've completed 19 fire investigations in FY21. He completed the fire investigations certification for automobiles and he plans to attend the electrical training in November of this year. Under the leadership of Captain James Lawrence and Captain Scott Byers, we completed 1,233 life safety inspections and 933 re-inspections. And what that is, in the last 8 months, we are out with our fire folks going into the commercial businesses, checking those for fire offenses, things such as fire extinguishers that are out of service, or somebody's turned off the valve to the sprinkler system and taken it out of operation. We're making sure that all of our commercial businesses are covered for fire protection, and that is a big deal. 2 new apparatuses were put into service. I think we got a picture of them. We've got the 2021 Marion pumper. I think that's a 1,000-gallon pumper that came into service. And then also, we call it the Beast, I think. The 2021 Ford 550 brush truck was brought into service this year and replaced our old brush truck. Also, one of the things that's pretty cool that's happened at the fire department, we have obtained a Maverick 2 Enterprise drone, and we implemented our drone program in 2020. So now we can actually fly a fire. If it's elevated fires, we can get up the top and see what's going on before we send our firefighters in to fight that fire. But we've also been asked to come out. We've got thermal imaging on that, and we've actually helped with a couple of lost persons and that type of stuff where maybe somebody is in that silver age of life and gone off into the woods and not found their way out. We can help them locate that person. We also purchased 55 new cardiac AEDs and replaced those around the town, and also did training with those. So that was great.
Brian, I want you to know that, and Chief too, I do my part in helping with fire prevention. I don't ever cook, so yeah. That's why.
Trust me, that's probably as important as anything I've said. Now, slip over to the police department. Chief Arnold's here with us today. We deployed in 2021. 70 of our patrol officers now carry body cameras, and that's something we've done not only for the safety of our citizens, but also for the safety of our police officers. And it's a great tool for us to have to work with them. Also, we call them the LPRs, the license plate readers. We deployed 10 of those across the main entrances into our town, and you might be shocked to know that 1.5 million license plates per month are being read coming in and out of the town of Smyrna. Now, I think, and don't hold me to this, but I think about 600,000 of those are duplicates where somebody maybe leaves the town to go to work in Nashville and then when they come back in. But that means there's also about 400,000 cars a month that are one-time trips through our town. During this each month, we have been notified about an average of 100 times a month of stolen license, a stolen car, or a wanted person or a missing person coming into the Smyrna corporate limits, and it's been a great tool, and I know we have made several arrests related to having the LPRs. And just as a teaser, I will tell you we're going to be adding some LPRs in this year's budget, and we'll let you know where those are going to be going once they're deployed.
Well, it's also nice because other agencies also call in needing help to see if sometimes people have come into our community or come through our community.
I think there was actually a murder that was helped be resolved with the county because we were able to give them evidence of where the license plate was at a certain time, and it was not where they said they were going to be. So it helped solve a murder in Rutherford County.
Yep.
This was one that's kind of special, and I know the chief is very passionate about this one, but you know, law enforcement our law enforcement officers deal with many people, and sometimes mental health is part of the issue or addiction. There's a new program that our chief has signed up with. I think this is across the state, and it's and with Association of the Chiefs, it's called the Police One Mind campaign, and they will be we are fully committed to establishing a clear line between our police department and those folks that are in that desperate need of help with some of our local agencies and nonprofits to get them the help that they need. This is a new program that will be deployed this year, and Chief, I appreciate you bringing it to us and putting that in place. So as we move on, I'll talk about the finance department. Rex is here, is our finance director and one of our assistant town managers. I know, Mayor, that this one, you know, it's a good number. I know there's a number you want to hit, but we're very proud of this number. But we were able to maintain on the Standard & Poor's trading a rating of AA+. That's the highest rating that we actually can attain as a community. And we're only limited not by our financial responsibility, but because of the population of our community and the average income of our community. As we continue to grow and maybe surpass Hamilton County, Mayor, I'll hopefully be able to get that other A for you, but we are very proud of that AA+ rating. The Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada certified, we got a certificate of excellence in financial reporting, and it was a great award for us in Rex's department to win. We also received the Comptroller's Budget Compliance Award this year. We issued an unmodified clean opinion on our FY 2020 audit, which means basically we had a very good audit and with no issues found. This is one that Rex always reminds me of as we work through the budget and keep up with what we're doing financially and be responsible to get as many projects done. We spent over $23 million in grant revenue this year. We have been very blessed to be able to be recipients of grants from TDOT, from some of the different COVID-related issues and those type things. And I will tell you, our directors do a great job of applying for grants. The water departments, we'll get into that in a little bit, but the stormwater or the sewer plant, we have won some really good grants to help us keep up and do some of the things we need to do. So not only are we receiving the grant money, we're spending the grant money. Some folks might say, yeah, I know, we go around town and we see all the different potholes and the roads being torn up and those kind of things, but it's progress, folks. It takes a little time to get it done.
Well, and in regards to finance, I think all of our departments and department heads do a good job of making sure that they're watching our citizens' money and being good stewards of that money. Mm-hmm. So we all appreciate the job each one of you do, as well as our employees. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Jeff Craig and the HR department. And HR this year handled 257 COVID-related cases for either sick employees, ones that were either exposed or quarantining, or child care related incidences. So that's something that we had not had to deal with before. So lots of learning on the job training in regards to that. Just so you know, this is over triple the normal medical leave request that this office usually processes in a year's time. And during the pandemic, the HR office was really the frontline response for our employees that were dealing with COVID. We made sure to advise every employee on what proper quarantine methods were, which changed sometimes. I mean, we were always going, okay, what's now the protocol? What are we supposed to do with employees that have come in contact? And we also explained the Family First COVID Response Act law and coordinated payroll data so that employees were paid in accordance with the act, and determined when they could also come back to work safely, not only for themselves, but for the other employees around them. And just so you know, this accounted for about 50% of the work for this department. Our HR director, in conjunction with Thomas Burris and Associates, also performed an in-depth compensation review for our employee salaries and classification structure. Appropriate adjustments were made, and to make sure that our employees are properly being compensated. That's something that we really want to make sure so that we can retain those employees. We do this on every 5 years. We bring someone in, but on a yearly basis, Jeff and his department are looking over this to see if we need to tweak anything. I think everybody out here knows how hard it is to get employees, but then also to retain them. So we want to make sure that we're paying them a fair salary. They also led the United Way employee campaign for the town, where we raised over $60,000 from our annual charity golf scramble to benefit nonprofits across Rutherford County. So not only are our employees out on a daily basis through their role in their job helping our community, but they're also giving back. They're giving back through raising money so that the United Way can go out and help our neighbors that are less fortunate. I will say, HG and I were sad that we couldn't make it this year to the employee golf tournament. We will be back next year, and Steve, we'll take your team down again. So just to throw that out there.
She'll also beat you at the race.
Yes, at the Jeff Coos race. So bring it then too. So we've talked a lot about community partners, and today we are lucky enough to have someone who has been pivotal in the last year and a half. They've been pivotal for quite a while, but I think it's become so apparent over the last year and a half. We have Lou Caputo with TriStar Stonecrest Medical Center. Tell you a little bit about Lou. He is the Chief Executive Officer of TriStar Stonecrest Medical Center, which is a 119-bed acute care hospital right here in the city limits of Smyrna. He's board certified as a fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives and is affiliated with numerous other professional organizations. He received his Master's of Business Administration degree from Belmont here in Nashville. He graduated from Sewanee, the University of the South, with a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics, but probably his proudest thing is he is the father of 4 wonderful children. I will tell you, Lou, that it had Lewis in here, but I figured you probably don't hear that unless you're in trouble, so I didn't want you to think you were in any trouble, so.
Thank you. Figure out how to get, is it
There we
on?
go.
Are you getting
There
me?
we go. Yeah,
Yes.
there you go.
I appreciate the Lou, but you can call me Lewis,
Oh, Lewis.
or some people call me Louie too, so
Louie.
whatever works for you.
Are you ever called anything else?
No.
No. Oh, so
Thank
you're always
goodness.
good. Okay,
Yeah,
got
I'm
it.
always good.
In politics, we're used to kind of being called lots of things. So
Well,
some of them not so nice.
thank
I'm
you.
glad yours is all nice.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you, especially the two of you, for the support that you guys give TriStar Stonecrest Medical Center. But I look around this room and I see faces that I have come to know over the years that have long supported the hospital, and I thank you guys for that support, especially over the last 18 months or so. Brian, I appreciated your slide with your org chart and the citizens of Smyrna as sort of the top of that org chart. While we have a board of directors as well, and some of you have served on that board over the years, really the top of our org chart is the citizens of Smyrna also, and Laverne and Murfreesboro and all of the surrounding communities. And it has been it has always been a privilege to serve those communities, but really the last 18 months, it's been an honor to fight this pandemic and serve the community. Again, I look around the room, and some of you have been patients in the hospital the past 18 months. Some of your family members have been patients the last 18 months or so. It is a battle that we have fought with all of our strength, and could not have done it without the support of the community and the town, and I'll get to that in a little more detail. I do want to thank particularly the police and fire, EMS, the health department, in your collaboration and work over the last 18 months, as the mayor and Brian have referenced. Particularly early on, the guidance that we were getting from the WHO, the CDC, and so forth, literally was changing hour by hour early on. And so trying to coordinate with the community resources and within the organization was very complex. And it takes great relationships, it takes great communication to be able to do that, effectively, and to do exactly as you guys mentioned, to keep our community safe. And I think we did a great job doing that. We continue to fight the fight. It's not over. I'm glad to say that our hospitalizations have actually declined by about 50% from about 3 weeks ago. So there's hope on the horizon. My hope is that we do not have another variant like the Delta variant that leads to higher hospitalizations, higher mortality rate, and that we stay the course, and we continue to see the decline in the results that we're currently seeing. We're going to continue to invest in the resources that we need to care for the community. One of the greatest successes that we have had is the monoclonal antibody clinic. We're the only access point in the community for that. There are very few around the community, but as I was coming in this morning, I stopped by the hospital and there was a line of cars for folks that were in line to receive that antibody therapy. So we're committed to continue to do that. We're going to continue to encourage folks to mask and get their vaccines, and as the boosters become prevalent, as we get more guidance on children and the safety around the vaccine for children, we're going to continue to encourage that as well. I will say, and we talked about this not too long ago in another setting with the elected officials during a debrief, but I ask that you continue to keep your hearts and minds focused on our staff and those who are fighting this on the front line. I've used the word hero over and over again to describe the nurses, the physicians, the techs, and I believe it more and more every day. Countless stories where they have just built relationships with individuals and that have been meaningful, particularly over and the family members, particularly over the last 18 months. But the battle has been long and it's been exhausting, and what you read about in the media is real. The fatigue, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual fatigue is very real, and I ask you to keep the staff in your prayers and thoughts because they truly are heroes, and their commitment to making sure that this community is safe and well cared for is very admirable. Our biggest challenge, like many organizations, is staffing. We have had many caregivers that have left the workforce for various reasons. The demands are higher, so we continue to work diligently to try to recruit the best nurses and techs and so forth. We're going to continue to work closely with the area high schools and their training programs, with Motlow and MTSU and other schools and their programs to fill that void as quickly as we possibly can, but also looking at long-term solutions to make sure that pipeline is full for years to come. A couple other updates around healthcare, the hospital. So we're entering our 18th year at Stonecrest. As hospitals go, that's still relatively young. We're still the second youngest hospital in the state of Tennessee, the second youngest acute care hospital. Myself, like many of you, can still remember the groundbreaking of Stonecrest. So again, we're not that old. We're going to continue to focus on expanding our clinical capabilities to meet the growing community. As they mentioned, the growth that we have seen in Rutherford County is astronomical. And so as a hospital committed to the citizens, we've got to continue to expand our clinical capabilities so people don't have to leave our community to get the care that they need. You've seen some of that if you go down Rock Springs, if you go down Stonecrest Boulevard. You've seen some of the development of medical office buildings to house the growing physician community as well. And we're excited to see that as we continue to grow as a hospital. To circle back with the town, a couple things that I'd like to draw to your attention and really show your appreciation. One thing that I think we have done extremely well and we should all be proud of is the communication that we have shared. So, it's easy for me to pick up the phone and call these folks on the stage. Again, I look around the room and it's easy for me to pick up the phone and call you. And I think in times of crisis, those who communicate well win the day, and I think we have done that over the last 18 months, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the town helping mobilize resources, whether it's, we talked about the weather incident and me being able to call and be like, we have burned through all of our ice melt and rock salt. Can the town give us some so we can keep our drives clear so patients can get to the hospital, and them responding within 30 or 45 minutes. I think of the fire department responding to a pipe leak in our MOB and helping us clear the building and remediate the damage so we could get back to taking care of patients as quickly as we can. Just the collaboration in general across the town has been so beneficial to the hospital and has been for years and will be for years to come. And then I think about when we were debriefing the elected officials a couple months ago, and I made the plea to keep the hearts and minds of our staff on your heart. Mayor Reed and others said, let's put a campaign together to show how we are united and how there is hope on the horizon, and I appreciate that. It really did resonate with our staff and hit home and really gave them new energy to continue to fight that battle. So thank you to you guys, thank you to the town, thank you to many of you in this room for supporting Stonecrest. Look forward to great things for years to come.
Great.
Thank you.
And Lou, I just want to say, from so many of you know our family story personally, Mama wouldn't be here without you all. And the relationships that all of us built was so important, and to know that we were 5 minutes away, even though we couldn't see her when she was in ICU, knowing that you all were there and that you all were taking care of her means a lot. And it's that peace of mind knowing that you guys are right there in our own backyard, that we can be treated and taken care of. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Of course I'm partial, but I think it's one of the things that makes Stonecrest special is we while we're in an urban community, and we have first-class care that you would expect to get in an urban community, we still are a community hospital. And we still have those relationships with our community. So,
well, please pass on to everyone, and I mean everyone, how much we appreciate the job that they're doing, and that we are all behind them 100%.
I appreciate it. Thank you. They know it.
Thank you, Lou. I'd say the same thing for Steve Sullivan's family. I know Steve spent some rough nights at the hospital during this COVID situation, and we appreciate what you did for his family as well.
Absolutely.
Getting him well, and now we got to fight with him again. So, but we're glad he's back. That's right. You know, Lou, I have the privilege, and I very, very much mean honor to serve on your board currently, and I will tell you, it's interesting every month to sit through that conversation at the board meeting and listen to the stories of the heroes, truly heroes, that work at the hospital and are dedicated, that they're working around the clock. And honestly, I don't know how they haven't burned out. I'll just be completely honest. But again, like the mayor said, thank you for all you do. Let's talk about my friend Diane Waldron's department, the Treasury Department. They've been busy this year. We implemented a new Agenda Quick program with the leadership of Diane, and also the help of Jeff Peach, our counsel, to get us through that. And it may not sound like much to you, but as citizens, but it's a process for us to keep everything moving document-wise through the system and making sure things that get to the council are on a timely basis and proper information, and it's everything from approving contracts to just general everyday communication. So it's a great program. It's worked very well. I know there was a few bumps in the road, but Ms. Diane held firm and got us through it, so we appreciate it. And every department is using Agenda Quick now to build our agendas. Also, they implemented some new software on point of purchase, and it's helping us collect on some miscellaneous payments and those type of things in a lot more timely basis. On top of that, this is not on my list, but I know this is a fact. Her department also is on a monthly basis averaging between 40 and 50 new business licenses a month. And that's everything from new industry to new restaurants, those kind of things, but it's also the mom and pop businesses that are being started throughout the system. And that's a lot of business licenses a month to have to process, so we appreciate them. Information technology, introduced Carl Wilson, our new IT director, who's with us today. So if you haven't had a chance to meet Carl, please do so before you leave today. But we completed a project with United Communications where we have built a fiber ring around the town that's serving all of our buildings on a dark fiber just for the town. We were able to not only accomplish the existing connections, but we added 2 new buildings that in the past have not been connected, and we've had to rely on mobility to get that information back and forth, so that's helped us quite a bit. We have about 450 computers across the town, and we're averaging at about 125 to 130 a year in replacements for upgrades and those kind of things, and we continue to work on those. Also, one of our programmers has been working with our HR department to update our core program, which is our portal for our employees for everything from their performance appraisal to information they need about their insurances and those type things. So we're getting a centralized location for all of our information for data for our employees, and it's working very well. They also configured and supported over 400 cellular connections, including 100 mobile cellular routers for critical support of the police, fire, and utilities personnel. So we appreciate all the work that's going on in the IT department.
So Tom Rose in Public Works have quite a bit going on in that division. We have our ITS Phase 1 and 2 project, which is connecting all of our streetlights so that hopefully we can move traffic through town. I know that's one of the opportunities we have with all the growth that we have in the town of Smyrna. Our Phase 1 and 2 should be complete by the end of the year. There are 5 phases to this program, and it's about a $2.13 million project, and we did obtain an additional $1 million in grant funding that you were talking about, how we go after the grants. So we also were awarded $1 million in our multimodal access grant, which is sidewalks along Lowry Street to go from Enon Springs to Sam Davis Road. And we completed a $500,000 drainage improvement project in the Lake Farm subdivision. This is something that kind of been happening for a while, and got in there and looked to see what the issue was and then how we could remedy the problem. And then Greg Upham organized our 13th annual Boat Day event, which we had over 380 attendees participating in kayaking, canoeing, and the most important part is education. All of this was free to the public. I think that's one of those quality of life events that we put on, and all you have to do is look at the faces of the kids and the families that are out there to see that they're enjoying the day, but hopefully learning a little bit about water safety, and Greg does a great job with that event every year. Parks and Rec. I think the town of Smyrna is known for our parks and what a great park system that we have. We officially opened our Zama Park, which is right downtown on Lowry Street. It was an investment by the town for our Depot District and downtown area. I think once the apartments get opened, you're going to see that park used more and more. And it kind of has that calming effect as you drive by. So exactly what a park should do. We officially opened the Freedom Playground that Brian talked a little bit about in the beginning at Lee Victory Recreation Park. This project was a partnership between the town, the Rotary Club, and the Christy Houston Foundation, as well as individuals who contributed financially to the project. The nice thing is this allows children and some adults of all ages to be able to interact together, and acceptance and understanding is something I think every one of us could use a little bit more of. And when you put children of different abilities together, somehow they always figure out how to work it out and how to make it work. And I think each one of us could take a lesson in that. And I am so excited about having this playground here in the town of Smyrna. Phase 2 is also going to be a part of this playground, which will be the handicap accessible restrooms. And they're not just your normal everyday handicap accessible restrooms. They will have adult changing tables because, you know, children with special needs are not just little children. You also have ones that get older and grow into adults that those parents need those facilities as well. So we're excited to add that to this project. We also reopened some park facilities, including our Splash Town and our Smyrna Outdoor Adventure Center, better known as the SOAC. I will tell you our Splash Town revenues, which is our outdoor pool out here, are higher than they've ever been. I think everybody wanted to come to the pool this year. And we reopened our SOAC facility in February and have seen really strong visitor numbers. And for those of you that don't know, our SOAC is where we house different exhibits that change out about every 3 to 4 years. So we're very blessed to have these facilities here in the town. After operating with limited fields in the fall, Cedarstone Community Park operated at full capacity in the spring of 2021. I know a lot of times when I look at this photo, it almost looks like it's not even a real photo, but it is one of the top facilities, I would say, in the country. It's something that each one of us on the council is really proud of. It is home to our Smyrna Baseball League, and I will tell you, has played host to numerous tournaments. Steve can attest to that, working the concession stand. And I was just with somebody the other day that said he had a family that was from out of state stop him and say, "This is the nicest facility we've ever been to, and we've traveled all over the country seeing parks." And so I think it's something that is something we can all be proud of. We do have phase 2 on the horizon, which is pickleball and tennis courts. For those of you that don't know about pickleball, I encourage you to get out and do a little research. It's similar to tennis, I think on a smaller court. Is that kind of the best way to describe it, Mike? And then our next phase after that, hopefully in a 5-year plan, will be a complex that is almost identical to this one to be added out there as well. So Cedarstone is something that we're very proud of here in the community. Last but not least, I can't tell you how much the Parks Department does on a daily basis, whether it's cleaning facilities, repairing facilities, coordinating the opening of multiple parks after our spring flood. For those of you that know 8th Avenue, used to be the old girls softball, now adult softball. When it rains, it pours at 8th Avenue, and lots of work has to go in, not only by the league, but also by the department. So thanks for everything the department does day in and day out to make sure those parks are open and available to all of the citizens that live here in the town of Smyrna.
This time I'd like to move over to our Building Safety Department, headed up by Steve Smith. This is always interesting for me. You know, we talk about growth and what does it mean, and Steve has a department that has roughly, 8 people? 11 total, okay. They issued 557 building permits for new construction in this last year. 2,542 electrical permits were issued. Out of that, they performed 19,383 building inspections, because we have multiple inspections, framing stage, insulation stage, and all that kind of stuff. And then 8,950 electrical inspections. So there's a lot of work going on in this growth area for 11 people to be handling. Continued expansion of services online. This is one of the things that came out of the COVID for us. We learned we had to do business a different way because we couldn't allow people to come into the office at certain times and get their building permits and stuff. So we were challenged and worked with IT, and Todd helped us work through that process. And it's going to be one that I think will continue on, but you'll be able to get your building permits and your electrical permits online, and you can also do plans review online now. And now, once we do the inspections, the contractors now receive an electronic response if they passed or failed their inspections. And then if they have failed, what needs to be fixed to get that inspection taken care of. So great job, Steve, and your department.
Talking a little bit about planning. I know you all probably think there's not a lot of planning that has to go in, but all kidding aside, you can only imagine how much planning has to take place in a community that is growing as quickly as the town of Smyrna. And Kevin Rigsby and his department do a great job. We did complete the comprehensive plan draft, and we're looking forward to moving through that. We did amend our mobile food vendors ordinance. I will tell you, that's another thing during the pandemic that we saw a change in. So many of those mobile food trucks were going into neighborhoods, not just setting up in the business district. So we had to review and kind of tweak our mobile food vendors ordinance and created a new permitting system for these businesses to operate. Kevin was also in charge of participating in the Rutherford County Complete Count Committee for the 2020 census. Let me tell you, number one, the census is already a hard thing to do, but trying to do the census during a pandemic is almost impossible. So kudos to Kevin and everybody on that committee for making sure that took place and happened, because so many people don't understand. Yes, it's important to know the number, but what dollars are attached to each individual that comes back into our community is so important, because it allows us to provide parks and the fire department and the police department. So getting those numbers accurate was really important. We appreciate Kevin and all that he did to make sure that happened.
Thank you. This time I'd like to call on one of our other community partners. I'd like to call Paul Latour to the podium. He's going to share with us a little bit about what's going on with the Chamber of Commerce. And let me just say, Paul's been at the helm now at Rutherford County for 12 years. I know for 5.5 years it was a struggle for him because he had to try to corral me on a daily basis and keep me headed in a direction. I had the pleasure of working with Paul at the Chamber, and it was a great honor to work with you. And Paul and I have become friends, and they do a wonderful job, not only representing the town of Smyrna, but also the county. And Paul, if you'd share with us a little bit.
Well, thank you, Brian. And as when Brian came to me and said he wanted to take this position as the town manager, I said, "Man, are you crazy? You have to deal with people talking about potholes and mosquitoes and stuff." But after seeing what you see here on all the slides, definitely under Brian's leadership as well as the council, some great things are really happening in the town of Smyrna, and that makes my job and our job at the Chamber of Commerce a lot easier. So, we focus basically on three things. One is tourism. I'll address that first. What you're doing and everything we've just witnessed up here, as it relates in particular to your Parks and Recs department, it is boosted revenue for our county as well as the town of Smyrna for tourists coming in. And the comments did not surprise me at all that especially the gentleman who made the comment about this is the best facility that he's ever seen throughout his career, through his travel. That's awesome. It makes our job a lot easier, and makes it even more exciting when other people want to come. When Mike and his team do what they're doing, along with your other events that you have here. I'm sure John will talk about the air show and other things, but tourism is definitely on the rise in Rutherford County. We were number 9 in the state of Tennessee last year. We bumped up to number 7 last year, and so I think that's extremely important, especially from the standpoint if we don't have one particular attraction like the Smoky Mountains or whatever. So I think we do a lot of that organically. The other thing we focused on is workforce development. You saw recently, as of today, we had an exciting announcement with our new Greg Jones, our new senior VP for workforce development and education. It is vitally important that we continue to make investments in education and making folks aware that what skill levels are needed to have in order to fulfill the jobs of the future. And so we're very excited about those efforts. And matter of fact, last week we had the We Grow Talent Summit in Smyrna, where we had Governor Lee come and open up our event. And we had a good, robust discussion about what's going on, what the needs are, and how employers and others can buy into that. And then lastly, I was going to mention, of course, economic development, which is jobs. If we're not successful in workforce development, we're not going to be as successful in attracting new jobs to our community. But the thing that has kind of held us back, and Brian and I talk about this all the time, is the fact that we need more inventory to be able to market to others. And I'm excited to share with you. I know some things that are going to be going on, especially off Allenville Road, the continuation of the things that are going on, John, at the airport with Hillwood. And so we're excited that a couple of those new developments will be coming online in the next 1 to 2 years, and we're already seeing a lot of interest in that. In addition, we got together with Brian and his team to talk about the summit here in Smyrna, just down the road here, about marketing that. And we had the idea to partner with CoStar, and that has really brought the attention of we sent that out. That's kind of the global and national platform where all the real estate developers and others will go to that site and look for that. So we've had a lot of interest generated. I understand there's been some robust discussions. Hopefully the future of that will continue to be bright, and certainly we're glad to play a small role in that. So also, as we look for inventory, Jefferson Pike is something that we're excited about. We kind of call as we sit at our office in Murfreesboro, the new frontier will be 840, and we look north, and from here we look south, and we're excited about the things that could happen and will happen, not could happen, they will happen on 840. As that continues to develop, and I think within the next 5 to 10 years, you may not recognize a lot of that. And so we're excited about those job opportunities, and we're excited about all the great things. Everything that you see here today, that you live every day, of course, it's investing in the future. And a lot of people don't understand that we need sewer, we need road infrastructure. I know that, and all these things cause construction and inconveniences, but it is absolutely vital for the vitality moving forward of our community to do that. So we look forward to playing our role in it. Cannot thank the town of Smyrna for your confidence in the chamber to do economic development, tourism, as well as workforce development, and we look forward to some even better days ahead. And thank you very much for allowing me to come today.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul, we always look forward to seeing you. So thanks for being here.
Would love to come over for dinner. If you cook one night, it'd be great.
Daddy, can Mama set that up?
Well, I just appreciate that you took this as a formal event and wore socks today. Yeah, thank you.
That was the first thing I asked him. I said, did you wear socks? I always know if he considers it formal or not, whether he has on socks or not.
We do have a great partnership, and the chamber does a great job representing our town and in the county, and we do appreciate that, Paul. It's kind of interesting you ended up on utilities, because where I want to go next is the utilities and Mike Strange and his department back there. Construction continues. We're about halfway into our wastewater treatment plant, two-thirds. We're two-thirds of the way into the construction. It was a 36-month project, and it's coming along very nicely. We're excited about that. It's going to give us the ability to just about double the capacity of the plant. And as we've talked already today about some of the growth and that type thing, it's going to be vital to us continuing to be able to serve our community. Jefferson Pike, we talked about that a little bit on the road projects. But there's also a utility project out there. Along with that road project, we've worked with TDOT to enhance the sewer system. Well, actually, it'll be a new sewer system, enhance the water system, and also take natural gas all the way out to 840. As you guys know, and if you've ridden that road, Smyrna Ready Mix has already got a beautiful 5-story building going up out there that we'll be serving, and that property has been annexed into the town. And we're excited about not only getting to 840, but what the future holds beyond 840 for us. As Paul mentioned, going that 840 corridor, our urban growth boundary actually goes all the way up to the racetrack. And I think there's going to be some really great opportunities out there once the utilities are made available. Also, talk a little bit about a project that Mike's been working on, our advanced metering infrastructure with our natural gas system and our water system. The natural gas system has been completed. The water system should be completed this year. But basically, that gives us the ability to do real-time metering for customers that are coming in or going out on the system. We don't have to send a meter reader out and get a reading and start from a position. We will be able to through the computer system do that. We also monitor that for if there's a leak or an abnormality on a customer's system. We'll be able to pick that up through the computer now, and it will tell us so we can get to that customer on a quicker basis. So that's going on. Our 4R sewer lift station, now that doesn't sound really exciting, I know, but it's something that's very important to us because that's our sewer system that's serving the Taylor Farms and Vijon system. That lift station has been in place for about, 30 years now, and we are in the process of updating that and changing that out so we can continue not only to serve Vijon and Taylor Farms, but any other growth that comes through in that area. So it's a very important part for us. Olive Branch Sewer, some of you know we have been working on that now, about 9 months? And we should have that sewer system completed, which will open up growth on that Olive Branch area. That project should be completed in the spring is what we're looking at right now. It's about it's 24,500 feet of 12 and 24-inch line going out there, so it's not a small project.
So engineering in the town of Smyrna is something that I guess we really didn't know how much of it was taking place, and Charles has stepped into that role and done a great job. We appreciate all of your hard work. I think we all can see it on a daily basis. Probably all of us drive it at some point. Look at Sam Ridley Parkway widening. I know the frustration level. I have that frustration level when I start at Motlow to make it to the interstate, but something that Brian has to say to me quite often, be patient, be patient. I'm not real good at being patient, but the end is in sight with this. So the construction is anticipated completion by the end of this year, which if you really think about it, it's moved pretty quickly when you look at how much is being done, adding a lane to each side all the way from Old Nashville Highway to the interstate itself. We also have the Lee Victory Recreational Park entrance road. If, as you came in today, the roundabout that is here on Nolan Drive, there was the one leg of it that was stubbed out but not completed. That's going to give us another entrance to Lee Victory Recreation Park that'll bring you in right by the Freedom Playground. If you've been to any large events that we have, or on Saturdays when football and baseball and basketball and all the other things you can do at Lee Victory Park are taking place, one entrance is not enough and one exit is not enough. So having this off the roundabout there at Nolan Drive, I think is going to be a real asset to that park. Lowry Street Phase 1, which is Charles's favorite project. It's the one that he enjoys working on the most. Right, Brian?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We talk about it on a weekly basis.
Weekly or daily?
Weekly at least.
Most of the utilities have been moved, and demolition for the underground utilities are expected to start fall of 2021, so now. And this is going to be from Sam Davis Road to right at Sam Hager. So we are excited about this project. Just remember, be patient, be patient. Our Genie Lane extension. This is the road that is going to be parallel to Sam Ridley Parkway. It's going to, the additional road, so just so you have it in your mind, it's currently from Old Nashville Highway to Wolverine. It's the road that takes you to Chick-fil-A and to Lowe's and to Target, all of the business. TJ Maxx, all back in there. And then it's going to continue on from Wolverine all the way over to the new development, which is to Potomac. And there'll be a roundabout that will be right there beside Academy. So we're excited about this. We think it'll be a really used addition to the town of Smyrna's road system. And the right-of-way is being purchased with anticipated completion of right-of-way purchasing at the end of this year, and then the project is scheduled to be let as soon as all of those properties are acquired. Once we actually get started on the project, we're looking at about 9 to 12 months for construction. Just added note, that road will also continue on the other side of Old Nashville Highway and will continue all the way to Motlow Boulevard. So
Through the Waldron's.
through the Waldron's property. So in essence, you'll be able to get on Genie Lane at Motlow and take it all the way to Potomac, which then would take you to shop at Target or any of those developments down there. Sam Ridley Parkway at Old Nashville Highway. Many people would think this project was being done in conjunction with Sam Ridley Parkway widening, but it's not. It is a separate project, and the project's in the right-of-way utilities design review with TDOT. Everybody asks, what is it going to look like? What's it going to look like? So I want you to think about the Old Nashville Highway on the Smyrna side and the Laverne side. You're going to have 2 left turn lanes, you're going to have 2 straight lanes, and 1 right turn lane on each side. And then on the Sam Ridley side, when you're turning onto Old Nashville Highway going either way, you're going to have 2 left turn lanes. So I think that will definitely see an increase of moving cars through that intersection. It was amazing when we looked at the counts, the number of cars that drop off right there at Old Nashville Highway. So hopefully this project will also help the flow of traffic here in the town.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And next, we're going to talk about probations. The probation department that we brought in-house about 18 months ago has done a great job. We're currently serving 483 clients, and we had restitution collection for victims of almost $29,000 back to our victims. So we appreciate the work that our probation department is doing. Then our judicial office with the court clerks and the courts and the court clerk's office. Judicial office, we're implementing a Google Forms for our officers. We went to the Google platform, about 2 years ago. And what this will do is allow them to obtain their court dates and assist the control of the cases and those kind of things, and it'll help make court better to manage and the number of individuals that are appearing in our courts. This came into play really with the COVID mandates that we had, making sure that we could schedule folks and keep the courts safe as far as the number of people in the courtrooms. I'll say this word right. We're mitigating more documents to Google, which allows the staff to better access the documents on site and off site. We're continuing to streamline our procedures and to comply with all the CDC COVID guidelines in the courts. Implementation of e-filing procedures for the citizens and attorneys. That's helping us, again, to be more efficient in what we do. From the court clerk's office, we successfully mitigated to more robust court software, and that was something that we were working very hard on. Our old software was outdated, and that was a pretty good undertaking for our court clerks and the clerk's office, and we appreciate them working through that. And it does provide us to be more automated, and it saves us a lot of time from the standpoint of people coming in and out. We're continuing to work closely with our collections agency to make sure that we're collecting bad debt and recoup the cost of delinquent accounts. That's also given us the ability to electronically transfer the accounts during the collection process. Okay.
So I want to talk a little bit about the golf course. Hal Laughlin is here with us today, and the golf course is another one of those assets we have here in the community to improve the quality of life for our residents. The golf course is not just about those individuals that are coming out to play golf and have a good time. There's also teachable moments, and not just teaching to make their golf game better, but we celebrated 20 years as host of our First Tee program. First Tee is to not only teach children how to play golf, but to teach children life skills. And it's free of charge, and it is something that Hal and his staff are very proud of, as are we here in the town of Smyrna. And it's something that I think the kids look forward to every year as well. They also hosted the Tennessee Special Olympics State Championship for the 32nd year this year. And if you ever had an opportunity to go out, you're going to see a lot of kids having a great time, and it is a great family atmosphere. We also hosted the Drive, Chip, and Putt Qualifier for the 9th year. And in 2021, Main Street Awards awarded us the best Rutherford County winner for favorite golf course. And what I want you to know is there's a lot more than just individual citizens playing golf out there. There's a lot of great things that take place, and we appreciate Hal and all of your staff for everything that you do at the course to give back as well.
Next, we'll talk about the event center. I see the chef sitting back there. We like to call him the show-off chef. He loves to show off his skill sets and highlight the things going on here at the event center. And it would be appropriate at this time to say thank you to a couple of folks for not only what they do on a daily basis, but they took care of us today. The chef's got some cookies back there. I think they're about the size of a normal globe. I don't know how he gets them that big, but you can have one for, half of it for breakfast and the rest of it for lunch, I guess. But they took care of today, getting us set up and making sure the room was ready, as well as the Parks and Recreation Department setting up the stage for us. So we appreciate both these departments for working for us and getting today prepared for us. And I'm hoping my chairs end up back in my office when we're done.
I don't know. We might auction these off.
That's what I'm afraid of. The Event Center served 12,932 buffet meals during 2021. That doesn't sound like a big number for the year, but you got to understand how many months were we closed down, Chef, and not able to serve at all during the COVID because of CDC guidelines. So we hosted 97 special events, everything from business meetings to weddings here at the town center. And as a result of the pandemic, numerous events were canceled and serving buffet was a challenge. Our team offered to go individual wrapped packaged meals. You know what, folks, if you've not come down to the event center to have a meal during the week, we're open Tuesday through Friday. It's a great meal. But one thing you'll see very quickly, we have a very special clientele down here. We have a lot of people in our community, they eat lunch here every day because this is the one place they can come to find an affordable meal and a quality meal. And I think for most of them, it may be the only really good meal they get that day. I think they're snacking at home or they're going through a drive-through, but they come here. And that was very important to be able to continue to provide those meals to those individuals. And Chef, compliments to you and your staff and all you do, just like any other department. You guys just knock it out of the park. So as I said, Chef likes to show off back there, so thank you.
And I think a lot of times those individuals may be living at home alone, and this is their time for interaction with somebody else. I'll also say Chef makes a mean blackberry cobbler. So Chef, you know how I love that. You always take care of me. Legal department, Jeff Peach and his staff interact with every department within the town of Smyrna and make sure that we're all doing exactly what we're supposed to do and following the line. So Jeff, we appreciate you for that. Jeff and them completed acquisition of 39 tracts of land for the substantial Olive Branch sewer expansion project. A lot of times people farm that out. We don't do that. Yes. Jeff and his staff have always taken that on. They produced and updated and revamped our standard operating procedure policy manual for the police department. As you can imagine, that is an in-depth undertaking, and we appreciate Jeff and his staff in doing that. This encompasses the ever-changing needs that we have in law enforcement. So Jeff, to you, there he is. Jeff, to you and your staff, we appreciate all that you do and all that you all take on that a lot of other legal departments within municipalities farm out to others. We know that you're saving us money, and we appreciate that.
Well, I promise you, we're getting close to the end, but there is a lot of stuff going on in the town of Smyrna, and as you can see in today's presentation, that's pretty true. Save the best for last? No. But we did save something very special. We made a change a couple of years ago in our media department to bring in a PIO, which is a public information officer, and that job is completely completely different than what you would typically think of in a media department. And Kathy Farrell was hired, and she's doing a great job for us, and her and Brett are doing just phenomenal work and communicating to our citizens and those type of things. But she also, this past year with the COVID-19 pandemic, she actually represented the town of Smyrna in a joint information center with all the PIOs across the system of the county, including the county, and made sure that we had good messaging, and the messaging was all in unison, working with all jurisdictions. So that was a great event for us, and something that we were very proud to be part of. She also worked with all the different departments in the town of Smyrna this past year to host visual events via Channel 3 and the town's social media platforms, including the Volunteer of the Year banquet, the Christmas lighting ceremony, and we actually even did a local football game, a little rivalry between Smyrna High School and Stewart's Creek High School. We were able to visually put that on Channel 3, again working with Stewart's Creek TV and with Britt and Kathy. We increased the engagement on our followings on our town social media platforms. I get tickled. Kathy will come down to my office and give me an update. We're this close to going over another benchmark, another mark for our social media follows and that kind of stuff. We don't do that just to get the numbers. What that means is that communication is getting out there to our citizens, whether it's a road closure or whether it's a special event going on in the town. We want to make sure that we're communicating, and we've learned social media is definitely the platform to get that information out, because so many times it's liked by us individually, and we share that then within our circle of influence on social media, but then it's picked up by some of our other partners like a HIP Smyrna or something like that, that's sharing that information in the community. So again, we appreciate that. She prioritized some of our internal communications with our news releases and social media content, making sure that it's getting out on a timely basis. I get tickled every Friday. She comes to my office and tells me, well, we've got this scheduled for Saturday release, this on Tuesday release, so we don't jam up social media, but we're making sure the messages are getting out there on a timely basis. She also has worked with each department. We have different departments that have social media contact or social media pages, and again, we're just making sure that all the content and all the messaging is going out in a platform that best represents the town of Smyrna and the information that we want to get out to the community on a timely basis.
You know, I think so many times with that position before, we were being reactive, and now with Kathy in this role, we've been able to be more proactive. Yes. And telling the great things that are taking place in the town of Smyrna. But during the pandemic, I will say what Kathy and the other PIOs across Rutherford County were able to do was hopefully be able to get a message out so that our citizens felt somewhat a sense of calm as much as we could during a pandemic, so they knew what protocols were, they knew what was taking place with the state, and I think you all did a great job in working together to do that.
Well, I think that's exactly where I was about to go, is that, you know, it was not only working together and it was being proactive, but I think the last thing on here, cohesive voice. We were working in unison, whether it's through our departments, through our partnerships, into the community, we're working together with a cohesive voice to make sure we've got a good message. Okay. I've got another special gentleman to introduce. This time, you know, the mayor introduces him as Dad, right? Father,
that's right.
Dad. This is Coon Victory. I want to tell you, Coon's here today to represent a very special project that we did this past year. He and Miss Thea Appleton and Patsy Brown worked together to produce something that's going to quantify for us a visual and a verbal coming together of history of Smyrna. And it was good to get this team together and see what they could produce. We have 8 episodes. Coon, tell us a little bit about what you were able to do.
Thanks, Brian, for asking me to come today. But first of all, before I get into why you asked me to come, I want to say thank you to not only you people in this room here for the projects that you've completed and the one that you got going on and the one that I'm looking forward to next year to see what we got going on in the future. So not only do you people here, but the other 450 people that was not able to be here today, the employees, thanks for the job that you do. I'm glad that I'm a citizen of Smyrna. But Brian called me and asked me to come up, that he won't talk to me for a few minutes, so I thought, maybe he wanted me to come out of retirement and maybe help with some of the citizens of Smyrna as an employee. So on the way up, I thought there was 2 jobs that I would take if he asked me to help. One would be
Make a note of this.
Todd's job, because he looked like $1 million every day. Comes in for an hour in the morning, 2 hours for lunch, comes back 1 hour in the afternoon. My job is completed. So that wouldn't be a bad job. But then job number 2 would be Hal's job. I could play golf all day long. So either one of those. But when I got into the room to talk with Brian, there was Kathy and Brett in there, and I thought, what's going on? So he said, Coon, you've been around Smyrna a long time. Yeah, I have been here a long time. And so he said, I think it would be good if our citizens, we've grown so much from 7,500 people back during when you were involved with the city to over 50,000 today. So I think it would be nice if some of those citizens, new citizens, would know kind of what Smyrna used to be like. So he asked me if I would do it, and I said, yeah, if you let me get some people to help me. So he had mentioned Patsy Brown and Miss Thea Appleton. So I asked Patsy if she would help me, because Patsy's been around here a long time, and she's also heavily involved with different activities that's going on in the community. So Patsy said, yes, I'd be glad. And so then Raquel asked Miss Thea Appleton to help us, which was a great addition, and thanks for that, Raquel. So like I said, Smyrna's grown from in the 70s to 7,500 people to over 50,000 today. And so we met, and we did 8 segments like Brian mentioned, and they were about an hour and a half long. We would have 4 or 5 people at each segment. And so we talked about different things that was involved with the city. And we started in July of 2020. The first segment was on the history of Smyrna. Then the next month, these were monthly, the next month we talked about the history of Smyrna again. Then on the third segment, we came in and we talked about Hilltop and Rosenwall, the section of Smyrna. Then we had to stop for a little while. COVID hit. So we stopped for 7 months before we came back. And then we came back with a 4th segment. We talked about Seward Air Base. And by the way, we have a great place there in Seward Air Base that a lot of people don't realize what goes on out there. But we had some people that was involved there whose parents was stationed at Seward. And also then John Black came in and talked about what's going on there today. And I was impressed with what's going on there today. And then we picked up Old Jefferson in Jefferson Springs. That was back before the dam came. That was an important place for a lot of the citizens of Smyrna. And then we came, next was education. It's hard to believe, but at one time there was only 2 schools in Smyrna. So we started back from then up until today. And then we came back with downtown Smyrna again. And then our last segment was on industry and business and how we got the Nissan plant. So we had ages from middle 50s, 60s, 70s. Had a lady that spoke on education, was 91 years old. Had a gentleman spoke to us that was 96 years old. Their minds was sharp as a tack. So we learned a lot about Smyrna. It brought back a lot of memories. We learned about who helped shape Smyrna and what it is today. So, Kathy, if you would come up and tell what you and Brett are planning on doing with these 8 segments. Thank you for asking me, Brett.
Thank you.
So Coon, it was really our pleasure and our joy over the past over a year to work with you, Miss Patsy, Miss Thee, to put this together. You all know when you were small and maybe your family gets together for Thanksgiving or a holiday and you get to hear all the older folks in the family tell the stories of their childhood, tell the stories of their youth. That's how Brett and I felt. We felt like we had a front row seat to people who have really made Smyrna, who've been the foundation of what Smyrna is today. And so I can't tell you how much fun it's been, and I can't tell you how much excitement there is around releasing this. And I'm going to actually ask Brett to step out from behind the camera, maybe get in this shot for just a moment, because Brett did the yeoman share of the work on this. It was my joy to help coordinate it, but really Brett is a one-man show with this. It was multi-camera shooting. It's been multi-camera editing, and there's sound involved as well. So it's been really a pet project of ours over the past year. What our goal is really threefold. So we'll upload it to our YouTube channel so that people can have access to those 8 episodes really on demand. We'll air it on Channel 3. Of course, we'll place links to those on our social media platforms. But we also, I'm working with my counterparts across the county. So James Evans, you all know, is the communicator for Rutherford County Schools. Our goal is to get copies of this into the hands of those folks specifically that are instructors, that are teachers in the Smyrna schools, because I know as a former educator, there are times where you have to put something on television. You know, you've got to put a movie in. Well, why not let it be the history of Smyrna and let our students learn more about their community than, say, you know, watching a different movie. So we have lofty goals. We're very excited about it. But Coon, it's just been a joy to get to know you better, and we appreciate so much you sharing your time for this. We feel like we have really a lot of history orally for Smyrna preserved, and we're thrilled with that. So thank you.
Let me, Kathy and Brett have done a great job with this, and this was a project that we visualized a couple of years ago at staff level. We just weren't sure how to bring it together, and I don't know that there could have been a more dynamic group, Coon and Miss Thea and Patsy, to lead this up for us. I have not seen the whole video yet. I've seen bits and pieces of it. Excited about what I've seen so far and what we'll be able to do. I've promised the group of folks that put this together, all the different participants in the conversations, we're going to have a little party here at Town Hall or Town Center one night and bring everybody in and do. We can't do 8 hours worth of video. Nobody wants to stay that long. And 9 o'clock is my bedtime, so I can't stay up too much later than that. But we're going to probably put together some snippets, 10-minute segments or something, and do a video presentation for the group. And then right after that, our plan will be to release it onto Channel 3. So it'll be available to the community, like you said, and then YouTube and our other social media platforms. I think people are going to really enjoy this. There are some stories that needed to be preserved. There's some things about the town of Smyrna that the foundation and the fabric of this community needs to understand who we are and why we are. I'm very excited about this. You know, the other thing that, Coon, I really want to say I appreciate, I've been trying to figure out what Todd did. And I really appreciate now that you've given me some insight to when he actually works and what he does. So it sounds like he clocks in, clocks out, and has lunch. So we'll keep a closer eye on that with Todd. But Coon, thank you, and thank you to your team for the work you've done. I think the community's going to really appreciate the product when we get this done. So thank you.
Brian, you know what's so special about the town of Smyrna is we may be 50,000 strong, but we've not forgotten where we've come from.
Yep.
And I think a community that remembers that and remembers the foundation in which we are built on is a stronger community for that. And so I'm excited about the project, but I'm also excited about the future. I'm excited about the future of the town. I'm excited about the future of the departments. I'm excited about what is on the horizon, and there's so much on the horizon. And without you, and without our council, and without the department heads and our employees, that wouldn't happen. And I hope that the citizens of the town of Smyrna feel good about where they live, that they want to stay here, they want to raise their family here, and they want to live, work, and play in the town of Smyrna. So, any closing remarks from you?
Mayor, no, I would say thank you to you and the council and the privilege that you give me to be part of this team. Thank you to every department head. Thank you to every employee that's represented by these department heads and the work you do on a daily basis. Be remiss if I didn't say thank you to our partners that have come today, Lou, Paul, Kuhn, thank you for all you do. All of our special guests, from Mike Sparks at the state level to our county commissioners, Rhonda, Wayne, we have great partnerships. We do a lot of work together. We make things happen as a team, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
On behalf of myself, the town council, all of our employees, to you, the citizens, we want to say we are excited about where the town of Smyrna is going, and we look forward to continue serving you. So we look forward to seeing you out at events in the upcoming year.